Patty, how are you? Or good afternoon, good evening. I think we might have figured out the popping problem, which would make me so happy. I am gonna, well, I don't want to do that. Oh, I should have turned off my email. Oh well. John thinks he might have figured out the popping thing when comments come up. It goes pop, pop, pop. So we're gonna give it a try. Right now, I don't see any comments, so I hope he didn't disengage all comments because that would be horrible. So, anyways, it is Wednesday, April 29th. I have more I have to do in Joanne Sharp's class. Okay, there's the popping. Popping's happening. Hey, Margot, say hi again, please. Let's see what happens. Ta, ta, ta. Yeah, no, it's popping. We're working on it, you guys. The reason this is not just through Facebook, because I tried to figure it out that way. This has to do something with this Ecamm Live, and John has written into the company. We'll try and get rid of that irritating popping. For that, we apologize. Just be kind. And I'm gonna have something else that you have to be way more kinder than that in a few minutes. I'm gonna talk to you about. Okay, so because I'm not going on my walks because of my allergies, now I'm finding stuff on the internet that I want to share with you. Well, first I'm going to start with this morning. In on the news in San Francisco, they are getting construction people back to work, which is great in my book. And what they have come up with, and this isn't it, but this is all I could find for an image, is they've come up with hard hats that have a beeping thing on it. And so what will happen is if you get within 6 feet of somebody, your hard hat will go beep, 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 beep. It's brilliant, right? Brilliant. So then yesterday on the news, this came up from China and it was so cute. It just made me laugh, and not in a making fun way, but just in how adorable is this? Getting these kids back to school. They have hats that they've made. Well, I'm not going to say, I just have to show you. They've got these 3 feet things on each side, and then that keeps them socially distanced. Now, I love the kid in the upper left-hand corner. He's obviously an artist and he's gone to hard work. But let's go to the right-hand side kid in the pink hat and then go behind. I love that it's just a baseball cap with a stick on it, both sides. I think that's what I would do for my kid. But I think this is so adorable. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you. I'm so pleased with how people are supporting our health workers, our frontline people, and all of that. It makes me so happy. And I saw this on the news this morning, but maybe we're all on the same station, but that the Blue Angels flew over hospitals as a thank you to the frontline workers. And I just absolutely love that. To me, it's a testament of who we are as people. I had to look up and see Blue Angels. Blue Angels are the Navy, a branch of the Navy. I didn't know if it was Air Force or Navy, but I want to go back to Crozier. And Editor Ann said I need to clear this up for people outside of the United States. Crozier was the captain of a ship, the Roosevelt, and his men and women started getting the coronavirus. I can only believe that he went through the proper channels, because you don't become a captain by being irreverent. And what happened was when he couldn't get the help he needed. What he said was, look, we are not in wartime and I don't want to lose sailors. They are our most important assets. So somehow my personal belief is that he reached out and couldn't get any help. So then I think the San Francisco Chronicle got hold of the news and he got taken off the ship. So to me, he was a hero because he took it for the team. Actually, I've told you that my son's friend was one of the people on the Roosevelt. He's good friends with Crozier. They trained together. Well, it looks as if in the news right now, they're looking at reinstating him. There needs to be more investigation, but that would make my heart so happy because he is beloved by the crew. And that's just my personal opinion. Now, another thing, Quilt Mania, perhaps you've heard of them. They're a French owned, beautiful publishing company. They have magazines, they have books. I mean, they're top crust. Well, they want to honor the frontline workers in hospitals, and they've come up with an idea. I want to get this straight. They want to have people make a block that finishes 10 inches and it's of pink and reds. So this is the block. I said, yeah, I'll play. This is the block that I made, and I think the instructions on how to do it will be on their site at some point. And I said, you are a hero. I can't remember what I did. I embroidered that by hand. I love the kitty fabric in the back, but basically it's just a bunch of hearts. And of course it's raw 10.5 and finished at 10. These quilts that will be assembled from these blocks will be sent to hospitals all around the world. And if you're interested in playing, please go to their website, their blog, go to Quilt Mania and search them out. Right now, what they want to do is get a head count on who wants to play. So you just type in, boy, I'm old school, enter in that you want to play and that you will commit to making a block that they have by the end of June. I don't know any more than that. I don't think they know any more than that. How do we get them to them and all that? I don't know, but it's a way for us to participate in saying thank you. And the idea is that these quilts will hang in hospitals for the nurses, the doctors, the orderlies, for everybody just to have a breath of fresh air. Now, of course, I'm sitting here thinking, why did I do this in English? But then again, I don't even know where it's going to go. The thing I liked about this block particularly is on this big heart here, you have a place where you can embroider your own message to people, whatever your sentiment is, in your own handwriting. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm very impressed that they're doing this. John?
Try Cindy Needham's approach. Turn down your sound.
Oh, I don't want to do that right now. I think John and I might get on later and experiment around.
Still hear...
I know you can still hear the popping.
No.
You can still hear me?
To hear you.
So how do I do that? Okay, get over here.
Turn down your sound.
I need John. I turn down my sound. How do I turn? Oh, that's how. Okay, test.
Can you still hear?
Okay, can you guys, now John's going to go test the other room and see if he can still hear me. Can you hear me, John?
I can still hear you.
Okay, maybe this will do it for the popping sound. Yay. Let me see. Somebody pull something. It's so professional. So, okay, on that note, talk about being so professional. We have a little bit of an issue with the sequoia pattern. Where's a picture of the sequoia? Starting, here's the quilt. Starting Friday, I'm going to talk about fabric selection for this quilt, sequoia. And we are going, add to broadcast. Oh, good, you can hear me. I think we solved it. Ah! Oh, look, my quilt has wings. It's going to fly away. Anyways, this is a quilt that I designed out of Edita's fabric. And I thought, you know what? We should do a sew along and go through this quilt. And we have a pattern at thequiltshow.com that we will happily sell you. But we weren't so happy when we realized we might have sent out the original database and not the corrected one. So what I'm going to beg of you is, if you have this pattern, do not cut into your fabric until we figure out what the heck is going on. Do not cut into your pattern. Am I being clear for the world to hear? Say it out loud. Do not cut into your fabric, okay? But we'll get it all straightened out. You know, I think one of the things that's happening is we're all working remotely, so things do slip through the cracks, and poor Suzanne's the only one at the store, so it's kind of like, So last Friday, I talked about a bundle that I'm going to be working out with that was out at the store. It sold out in less than 24 hours. And I will tell you right now, I think we had 60 bundles. I was absolutely shocked at that. So I went out to the store yesterday, and we have a couple other bundles you might want to consider. They they get a stamp of approval from me. This is the Yara bundle that is the same bundle that we're using, or the same fabric we're using for our BOM. If you like to have an antique look, something I think more like Edita's, this might be the way to go. And I don't even know how many pieces are in this, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Here's a Gigano one called Mackinac Island, and it's by Moda. This would make a killer quilt. And this is how I do. I get something like this and I just kind of look at it. I love it. I view it as art. And then when I break the ribbon, it's like, okay, time to get busy. Then here is another one that we have in the store by Edita. It's called Chesterfield. I don't think we have a lot of these, but this would be a smashing one color quilt. Smashing. So I got an email from someone who was like, oh man, I missed it. And I don't really have a whole stash of fabric. So that's what prompted me to go to the store to see what we have. I'm going to tell you this on Friday when I talk about fabric selection. Chances are, is even with the one that I'm using, I might be adding a couple other fabrics to it. I use my stash as my backup dancers. So I'll talk about that on Friday. Let's not get into that too much. All right. So then I got a question from somebody and said, how do you tell the bias of a fabric? Let me get off of this. No, let me get back on this. Okay, fabric has the lengthwise grain, and that's what's on the loom. That's the red lines there. I want to grab some fabric while you're doing that. That's the red lines. Okay, then it has the crosswise grains, or the crosswise, that's the blue, all right? That's the blue lines. And then the bias goes diagonally. Now, the interesting thing is that when you look at fabric, this one's been chopped up, so I can't use the salvage edge on the crosswise to cheat, although I think it is this. If you try and stretch the lengthwise grain, there is zero stretch. I mean, zero, okay? When you do crosswise, where that's where the salvages are on each end, you have a little bit of stretch, just a little bit, okay? On the bias, you have huge stretch. So the person said, well, how do you see this? How do you see this? I want to hold this up to this camera right here. First of all, if you look, make sure I get in there. If you look at this piece, you know what? I think I want to go down to the camera. This is not wonderful. Let's see. There we go. When I look at this piece, down here, right down here, it is raveling a little bit. All right? That's how I know that that is straight of grain. You will get, so if that is straight of grain, I know that is straight of grain. And then the biases are on here. But if you look at it really carefully on the bias, oh shoot, I was hoping it would be better than that. You can actually see how the threads are running. So it's a matter of just paying attention to how, okay, this will be a straight grain because I've got that, all right? And on here, I can see, believe it or not, I can see. So you just have to become a fabric detective, which is easy for quilters to do. Here we go. So I want to take a look at this quilt, the circle play. A couple people called Brandy or wrote Brandy, and I must have inadvertently said that this is a free pattern on alexandersonquilts.com. It's not free. It is a PDF that you can purchase for $14.95. That's at alexandersonquilts.com. But if you go to quiltersselect.com, there are free patterns there. So that must have been an inadvertent slip of tongue or twist of brain or whatever. I want to look at the close-up quilting on this quilt. It's absolutely beautiful. an Amish woman, I don't know her name, did it by hand. And thinking that it was going to be for the movie, we wanted it hand quilted and not machine quilted. We wanted to stick with the look, right? But now, if I want to look back at this quilt, okay, you get off and you get on. This quilt, now it does have the cute rick rack in the center of the zeros, of the O's, but honestly, the quilt wasn't making it in my book. It absolutely wasn't making it. And that's when I came up with the zigzag border. Without the zigzag border, I think the quilt might just fall a little flat. So I say that binding is a decision, just like all other parts of the quilt. Now, it was easy to determine where the zigzag was going to be based on the inset little 4 patches. So it's not like I had to go cut it. I just followed the shape of the quilt. I told last time that it was time to do this quilt. I'd kind of had it with it. And Carolyn Huey did the binding with me, or for me. And then when I was writing all things quilting, I had to figure out how to do it. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. It's not hard at all. It's time consuming. That is true, but it's not hard. I don't even know how much to tell you to make, but as far as your binding, but I would say probably double of what you would normally make if I were a betting woman, because what I did is I just did step outs for the book. So I want to take a look at the step outs and show you how easy it is to do. Now you'll see behind the scenes on how these things really work. So here's one of my step outs. The first thing I want to talk about is the binding itself. It is 2 inches. Yeah, I measured it. It's 2 inches right there. And then it is folded and ironed. Believe it or not, this is on the straight of grain. This is not on the bias. You do not need a bias. The only time I use a bias is when I'm doing things like scallops. And hey, John's gone. I believe this is in show 606 on the quilt show. I did it there, I believe. So anyways, what you do is before you start sewing is go see if this zigzag border is show 606, please. Okay, thanks. So when I'm sewing this border on, this binding on, before I do it, I'm going to go and I'm going to stay stitched, like just a fraction less than a 1/4 inch. And that just kind of keeps everything pulled together. So I come up here, and this is just like your normal mitered corner binding. Super easy. How you do that, if you don't know, is you stitch up to a 1/4 inch. Then wait a minute. What am I doing wrong here? I'm doing something wrong. Uh-oh. What am I doing here? Oh, that's right. I go up here, I stitch up here, I fold this back, and then I come down there, and then we're good. Again, you have the finish on the inside, the raw on the outside. So we do this just like any other mitered corner. But then when you get down to the crack, that's the one that perplexed me. The thing to do when you get down to the crack is you cut into that stay stitching. Is it 606? Oh, it's not 606. It's show 1905. 1905. Thanks, honey. Right in there, I've clipped right in. Then get this, you guys. All you have to do is when you're sewing, spread it apart. That's it. Get in there. You just spread it apart. And then you just sew it. It's just not a big deal. So then after you've sewed it, now comes the tricky part. You have to fiddle faddle with it when you go to sew down the other side and get that crack going. It's just kind of opposite of the miter that you do on the top. But you have to get in there. Oh, this is called demo goner. Is it Friday the 13th? Like, what's going on here? You just tuck it in and sew it. I'm having a hard time doing this. Ah, okay, I am your fearless leader. But basically, the demo gone freaking awry. So you just cut it open, go like this. I know this never happens to any of you. The other thing is where you stop and start on the zigzag is not going to be at a tip. It's not going to be at a tip. It's not going to be at a crack. It's going to be somewhere in between. That's where you're going to start the binding and finish the binding. So the upshot is do that like you do your normal 90 degree. And then down here, I just folded it, I minutiaed it, and I did do this one. And then you are good to go. The interesting, I didn't even bother sewing it. Like a lot of times people like to sew their binding down, but I didn't. So we froze. So that's not good. Let me get back here. It's not Friday the 5th, 13th. I can't believe this. Okay, so what else do I need to say? Yes, I think that that's pretty much it for right now. You wouldn't have to make double for the normal amount of zigzag binding. Consider that the normal amount is the, a math person's talking, hypotenuse of the triangle made by the two zigs. You could use this formula, I can't read the word anyways. The quilt 707 times 2 plus a little more for good measure. She got A's in math. I had to repeat math. I love you guys so much. You make me happy. You make me happy. You have to appropriate the demo gods first. That's what we say in TED demos. Oh man, save me. So anyways, on Friday, I'm going to talk about fabric selections because I know most of you have healthy stashes, but in the meantime, you might want to go shop the store. My guess is you'll have them there by Monday. Suzanne's pretty much all caught up, but if we run out, we run out. We had a ton of the first ones, and some of you have already ordered editas. Editas, I don't know, we might have a dozen, This, we might have a dozen. So go on thequiltshow.com, and I don't know about this motive one. We might have 20. That's it. But they'll make beautiful, beautiful quilts, and you can just sit there and bless them. Again, don't cut into them. It's double. Someone else, Carolyn. Oh, Carolyn's there. She's the one that did it. Carolyn said it's double. It's just like I said. Thank you, Carolyn. I wish you were here giving this demo. Okay, now for a scallop border, you use a bias binding. How do you do the curve on the scallops? You want to know how I do it? I go get out a dinner plate and I start in the middle and I work out. That's how I do it. No, this is what I do. I just lied. I take it and I divide it up into equal sections, and on the end, it would be half of whatever this is. Then I go get a dinner plate and get it on there good enough to be able to fulfill that. And yes, that must be bias. Honestly, I think the zigzag, even though it takes longer, is harder. The scallop is a little harder to do than this. And the reason is whenever, in my opinion, in my life, whenever I'm working with bias fabric or edges like this, you just have to be careful because they can start twisting and rolling, and maybe not now that I've got a built-in walking foot, but they're just a little more trickery. Hey, Pat, I almost failed geometry. Now I'm quilting. Pat, I did fail geometry. I had to retake it. So it's not my jam. And here we are quilting. So anyways, that was like when my son, I'll leave it with this. When my son was like in third grade or whatever, the teacher, you have to have your conference with the teacher. And the teacher said, well, I'm a little concerned. Joey doesn't know how to count money or tell time. And I said, Mrs. Forcier, uneducated people who are drug pushers know how to tell time and know how to count money. I am not worried about that. This will all come in time. counting money and telling time. Yeah, no, people, that's one thing people know how to do. That is for sure. Anyways, you guys. Okay. So Kristen said, I learned that math formula from Debbie Caffrey. And you know what? Debbie is a braino about those things. She is really good about those things. So I love you guys. This is great. And don't tell anybody how this kind of went awry. But the trick, cut into it. Spread it. That's the trick. Hey, you guys, have a great day. If you have any questions, just email Brandy at customer service. She gets them to me so I can answer them for you. And again, please don't cut into your fabric yet. We will figure this out. As they say, I don't know if you've heard this before, we are all in this together. Have a great one, you guys. Bye-bye.